How long have you been working as a PCA?
Well, actually I'm not a PCA, I'm an endorsed enrolled nurse, but I was a PCA in the beginning, 12 years ago, and I worked as a PCA while I was doing my training.
So, was that busy in the past as working as a PCA, as nurse?
What was the what, sorry?
Was it busy?
Busy, always.
Always.
Always very busy. There's always plenty to do. You can always find something to do, even if it is just spending some one-on-one time with the residents. Talking to them, reading to them, looking at photos. They love that sort of thing. Yeah, but they're very busy.
Yeah. Thank you. Do you think the shifts was too long for you to work?
No, they're pretty good. Most places have 5, 6 or 7 hour shifts, and you can pretty much choose which ones you want to do, suit your lifestyle, suit what you can manage. The longest shift is a night shift. It's usually 9 hours. But there's not so much work to do at night, so that's why they can do the 9 hours.
Yeah. So is there any limitation that after your shift you can't pick up the other new shifts or something?
You can pick up extra shifts, but you're not to work any more than 76 hours a fortnight. So if you have, say, 40 hours of permanent shifts, then you're able to pick up more. But if you've got 76 hours of permanent shifts, you can't pick up any more. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So,
because overworked, yeah, it's OHS, union, all that stuff, yeah, comes into it, yeah. People get too burned out.
Yeah. Then, what was the most difficult part in your duty, you think?
Oh, there's lots of different things, but probably when you're working with people with dementia, if finding out what a problem might be, whether it be pain or confusion or that sort of thing, that's probably the hardest thing. You've got to have a fair bit of sort of intuition and be able to read the play, work out from behaviours and things like that what the problem might be, and then hopefully you can. We always have interventions in place for people that have particular problems, especially if they get lost, wandering around the facility, can't find their room. We'll put their name and a picture of them on the door of their room. So yeah, you go back to your interventions and you try to put those things in place to help solve the problem. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So, then that's kind of usual problem you have before. Is that right? That's usually
That's a common problem.
Yeah, common problem.
Confusion, particularly with dementia, and pain, I suppose, are two main problems. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think your wage was reasonable at that moment?
No.
Not at all.
You never get enough money for what you do. I always tell people, to be a nurse or a personal carer, you need to do it because you love it. Otherwise, go and work at a supermarket because you'll get more money. Yeah, they really, the money's not good. Particularly even when, as a PCA, it's not bad. But when you go on and you do a lot of schooling and stuff, the money for all the study you've put in and everything else, the money's not really good. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But yeah, you do it because you love it.
Then what makes you to being a nurse as well?
What makes me?
At that moment, yeah.
Because I like helping people and like to do my bit, and preferably I'd like to be able to make people better, but because I work in aged care, that's not always going to be the case. So the main thing is to make people comfortable and enjoy their end of life as much as possible.
Have you ever been involved in any kind of assault or harassment by residents?
Oh yeah. When a person has severe dementia, quite often their confusion will make them very frightened of things, and often they lose the ability to walk or do things for themselves. So you might have to use a hoist to get them out of bed, and it can be quite frightening because they don't know what's going on, and so they'll kick and they'll scratch and wave their arms around, but that's pretty much it. It's just, but if you take it slow and explain what you're doing and be nice to them, you can sort of generally get them to calm down. But yeah, sometimes they can get really, really aggressive.
Yeah, it's quite tough to get them calm down, right?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it's best to, if they're really aggressive like that, is to just walk away, make sure they're safe, and walk away and come back later. And you'll find that often they've calmed down. But as again, any kind of behaviour in elderly that we've got interventions in place, we do assessments on them and things like that. So we have interventions that will help calm down, whether it be physical or chemical, chemical as in the way of medication sometimes, that just takes the edge off, not to make them drowsy and unable to do anything, but to get the edge off, and for their safety as well as our own. Yeah.
Cool. So what was the after actions your employer or you take usually? Probably like I've heard that some sexual harassment done by the
Okay, so you're
let's
talking,
just-
I haven't been involved
Yeah.
in any elder abuse of any kind. I've just been kicked and scratched.
Mhm.
But when I very first started, I did see a PCA slap a resident. I was absolutely horrified, and because I was feeling new, I kind of didn't know what to do, and I felt really, really bad about it, and I slept on it overnight, and I talked with my husband. I said, what am I going to do? I've just started here. I don't want to look like I'm a telltale, but he shouldn't have done that. Anyway, I did eventually go and tell one of my bosses. I had to write a statement about it. It was a male, they got him in and asked him his side of the story and immediately sacked him. So there's no tolerance for any abuse of any kind. I have heard stories of staff have, one guy, I think it was a male again, had got one of the residents to sign his house over, but he got found out and immediately sacked as well. But yeah, I mean, depending on the seriousness, they could end up in court. They could, same as anybody that commits a criminal offence, charges can be pressed against them. But I know that everywhere that I've worked, there's a no tolerance for any elder abuse. You have to do elder abuse training every year. It's mandatory, and that's generally a video, a lecture, a questionnaire, and you get signed off for that. But yeah, it's a pretty serious thing, and they won't put up with it at all. Do I have a good memory about them?
Yeah. So something like impressive a patient with who you care about.
Oh, I've had lots of them, but to remember, yeah, had a few funny things.
Yeah. Can you tell us the story?
You want to know? The funny things seem to stick in my head because I've got a silly sense of humour.
No.
There was a lovely couple, ladies, sharing a room, and they were always getting up to mischief, and one of them thought she was the mother of the other one, and and I'll just say Mary and Jane, just for the sake of a name. Mary would spend a lot of her time in her room, but Jane would be out walking around. And she'd eventually come back to the room and Mary would say, "It's about bloody time you got home, your dinner's getting cold." You know, just like she was her mother. And they used to tuck each other into bed and... yeah, they were always fussing over each other. They used to make me laugh. I can remember one of them was finger painting one day in her bed, and she decided she'd had enough of that one, so she went over to the other bed, and the other ones, and we come in and there's finger painting everywhere. And they were so funny. They were hilarious. I've had a lot of very well-to-do people, you know, and who've travelled the world and things like that, and you'd often find they'd put their tray outside the door like they were in a motel, and then they'd come round later to the desk and they'd say, "Am I booked in for tonight? Is that okay?" "Yes, you're booked in for tonight." You know, just like they were on a holiday motelling. Yes. And yeah, I always thought that was kind of cute. "Is the paper in yet?" Yeah, he used to be funny. Another lady I remember, she used to love rats.
Oh yeah.
You know how some people have pet rats? Oh, and she had pictures all around her room of rats, and she used to have this pet rat that she used to take to bed. Oh, yeah. She was funny. Oh, and I had another one. She was a staunch... Oh, I remember her. She was so funny. She was 98 or something. She was staunch St Kilda football fan.
Oh!
And she was a member still of the football club, and she used to sit up in her room and watch the football game every weekend, and you couldn't talk to her while these games were on. But if they were losing, if St Kilda was losing, she would not talk to us. She would turn her TV off and she would sulk. Something awful. And she'd sit, but she used to be so cute. She'd sit there in bed with her little beanie on, her scarf and her TV, and she'd be watching the football, and you could hear her yelling, and she got really excited. She just loved it. She was 98. And one day I went into her room and the window cleaner was cleaning her windows, and I said, "Oh, that's good, you're getting your windows done or something." And she said, "Yeah, I thought I was going to get lucky today, but I don't think so." Like Confessions of a Window Cleaner. I didn't expect to hear you say that. Yeah. But, we do get a lot of funny stories, and you don't laugh at the person, you laugh with them or about the situation. Or sometimes, you know, if you can't laugh at the time, we might go into the office and we'll have a little giggle, you know, but you never mock them. It's just, you know, it helps lighten the day. Yeah, lighten the load, because sometimes it can be really, really sad. It can be really hard. Yeah. So if you get a laugh, you get a laugh. That's good. Yeah.
Makes them feel happier too, I imagine.
Yeah, it does.
Then, do you have any outlook or expectation about the aging healthcare, aged care, or something?
As
about
improvements.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh.
A lot, right?
I would love to see more staff so that we can do more. Our time is so stretched. You know, I mean, I've gone through days where I've not had lunch, can't even get to the toilet or have a drink. You know, it's just often not enough hours in your day. So it would be nice to have a lot more staff, but you know, resident staff ratio to be lessened a little bit, but that's never going to happen. Not enough money. But that's probably... I think most aged care places do very well, and they do the best they can. There are some dodgy ones around, but there's an accreditation agency that are on to those people, and they'll be all closed down eventually. So. And a lot of nursing homes now are becoming part of a group, a large group. So when they work as a large group, then the laws and rules and regulations are pretty tough, and the accreditation agency does keep a pretty good eye on them. So, yeah.